All right, a quick update on the Samurai here. So yeah, I was able to lift the engine about an inch and a quarter. I got the oil pan clearanced out. I've got the intake elbow rebuilt. So I did something kind of interesting here. This is a piece that I actually designed and had 3D printed directly out of aluminum from PCBWay. It worked fantastic. I simply drilled a hole and pressed this barb in with a little bit of Loctite. But this thing feels, looks, and acts just like a cast aluminum part. It is accurate enough. I didn't have to have this surface machined. You can see some goobers on there. I siliconed it on once. And yeah, had to pull it back off so I could put this barb back on it. That's for the boost reference for the injection pump. But to give you an idea of how much clearance that actually gained, here it is compared to a factory height one. So as you can see, yeah, it gained quite a bit. That was huge in actually being able to lift this engine up, because if you reference the one the previous videos, you can see that the intake was actually the very first thing to hit, and I had lots of clearance everywhere else. So now I've already checked the clearance on everything again. This has probably 3/4 of an inch. The one thing I don't like is I am within about 3/32 of an inch on the very front of the timing cover to the hood. That's not ideal, but it's what we got. To actually lift the motor, I had Send Cut Send build some custom motor mounts. Now you can see how that hole's offset. If you compare this to a factory motor mount, you can see this is a lot taller. That's actually so it lifts the engine up directly. I have 3 mounts because, hey, I guess they built a test part and it worked out. So instead of only sending me 2, they sent me 3. I'm not complaining. And I got one installed on either side, and that lifted the motor right on up. If I were to do this over again, I would probably drop it down another 1/8 inch. Reason being is I would like a little bit more clearance here. As for the oil pan, get that box out of the way. Yeah, you can see how much clearance it has now. That pan still holds a full 5 quarts of oil. It is pretty darn custom. I'll have a link to a build thread in the description, and you can take a look there and see how much that had to be cut up, but it is pretty much completely custom with the exception of like a little bit of material left from the original pan. But it does clear. It clears the axle, it clears, well, everything. So yeah, that turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it. So I will not have to lower the bump stops on this. I might still do it. I'm going to do a little bit more measuring, a little bit checking. It's possible I might have to put a 1/2 inch spacer underneath the bump stops, but realistically, I don't think you'll ever notice a 1/2 inch less travel. So, yep, got that done. Been working on the exhaust. So this is pretty fun. That's a 2 1/4 inch exhaust. I simply took the factory Volkswagen flange, cut the tube off of it, and just start going to town. Yeah, I know the welds look atrocious, but it's my cheap Eastwood welder that I got for $400 with the tank and the cart used, and it just doesn't weld very consistent. You can see right here, I mean, I went from thermonuclear hot to cold, and that's the order the welds went. So yeah, lovely. But hey, it glues metal together, so I can't complain too much. But it does come down. Snakes right around. If you can see, I don't have the oil cooler in it right now, but there is adequate room to put that back in. I just have it off because I want to go ahead and pressurize the oiling system. I pulled out the vacuum pump and went ahead and drove the oil pump directly with a drill. Got everything primed, tested, and make sure there was no leaks. And everything looks good. So next step is put the oil cooler in. I think I'm going to put it down, right down there, kind of in the bumper. It'll work. You can see where the exhaust comes down, wraps around. There's about 3/4 inch of clearance. I'm going to be wrapping that with insulation, make sure it doesn't get everything hot. And then I've got some protective sleeves I'm going to put over all the tubes and hoses and everything that are run around. The other thing I did is this is a V-band that clamps onto the bottom of the downpipe there. Then this is actually threading into, or this has a bolt that goes through it and kind of clamps into the transmission and stabilizes the whole pipe. One thing I'm worried about is with this big old long gangly pipe with a lot of leverage and everything, I'm worried it's going to snap the exhaust off at the flange. So I have taken steps to remedy that. But yeah, we're coming down the pipe. I mean, at this point, all that's really left, I've got to swap out the steering gear still for the factory Samurai one. I've got to do the electric power steering, finish up the exhaust. It's not done yet, but it's the hard part is at least. And then once the exhaust is finished up, yeah, radiator, power steering, plumbing, electrical, and then she runs. So over and out.